You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold, episode 38. Today, we welcome in attorney and author of The New Law Business Model. Very excited to discuss that book. Ali Katz. How are you?
I'm great. And I love that you go by Benny Gold. That's a great name.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of evolved over time. I think like my close friends started calling me Benny. I didn't love it at first. And then I kind of looked at it as endearing. And then it kind of picked up in like the Lawyer Stories community. So, you know, my personal Instagram is actually Benny R. Gold. So I just go by it. Professionally, I like in my other day job, I don't really do that. But anyway, this is about you. So let's just, I want to just jump in. Like, I just want to tell everybody, by the time this is released, you will have been featured on Lawyer Stories. So the feature will go out, as I said, probably tomorrow morning. But so like, tell us where you're from and like where you grew up. Let's start there.
Great. Well, I have my own experience with names. So I'm from Miami, Florida. That's where I grew up. And I was Alexis W. Martin growing up. And then by the time I graduated law school, I was Alexis Martin Neely. Okay. And I'm still licensed as a lawyer under the name Alexis Martin Neely, but Ali Katz is my name today.
Very good. Okay. So, and you're in Colorado now?
I'm in Colorado now. I'm still licensed in California, though. California is where I started my law career.
So how'd you end up out in Colorado?
So in late 2009, I had achieved all the heights of success I possibly could, and I was still very unhappy with my life, and I had a bit of a spiritual awakening, spiritual crisis, however you'd like to call it, and I realized I had to leave LA. Being in LA was feeding parts of me that I didn't like about myself, and so January 1st, 2010, I packed up 2 U-Hauls, my kids, all the animals, and my ex-husband and my boyfriend at the time, and we drove out to Boulder, Colorado, and I created a new reality for myself.
Wow. Okay. So that's a big move.
Yeah.
A lot of people involved too. So.
Yes.
So you went, undergrad, were you at Georgetown undergrad?
No, I was at a state school, University of Central Florida.
Okay.
But, you know, back then that was like the state school that I could go to that wasn't UF or FSU. I had to go to a state school because financially I had to stay in state. And I really didn't, think of myself as being on this trajectory of achievement really at that time. But when I graduated college and I decided I was going to go to law school, I had a choice between William and Mary and Georgetown. And at the time, I had no idea how important that choice would end up being. And I chose Georgetown because it was the best school I got into.
Yep.
It was the best one I had applied to. And so I chose that. And it turns out that was a really important decision. Graduating first in my class from Georgetown would go on to set the trajectory of the rest of my life, the rest of my career. And, had I gone to William and Mary, maybe the same experience wouldn't have happened.
Wow. So you talk about first in your class, like, what did that come with? Like, were you like law review? Did you do like the speech at the graduation and like all that sort of thing? So you were into all that, like the moot court, maybe not the moot court.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, all of it. I got into law school and it was the first time in my life that I liked school. I had hated school
Really?
all the way up until law school. There was some part of me that knew school doesn't matter. This is all just ridiculous. Why am I even doing any of this? So in a way, when I got to law school, it was like this experience of, oh, this is why I had to do all of that, was to get me here. And it was the first time that I ever liked school. And all of a sudden, I loved it. I loved everything I was doing. I loved all of the studying. I loved all of the reading. The only thing that I didn't love was that I was convinced that I failed every exam. I was convinced I was the stupidest person at school. And it kind of built into me this competitive nature that I was never really aware of before. And all of a sudden, graduating first in my class was the most important thing in the world to me.
Wow. So to backstep a little bit, like, when did you know you wanted to go to law school?
Well, I think I knew that I wanted to go to law school when I was actually reading my dad's depositions. My dad was a
Right.
criminal.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it must have been, around fifth or sixth grade, and he really respected his lawyers. And I looked up to my dad, immensely. He was, obviously my hero when I was growing up, even though he was in many ways a bad actor. But I didn't see him that way. I saw him as my hero, and so I very much wanted his approval. And it was really between becoming a therapist or going to law school, and my dad didn't respect therapists, but he really respected his lawyers. His lawyers were like gods in a way, they were so smart and they were so respectable, and having that feeling come through him to me, and really his belief, I think, as well, that if he had had a different upbringing, he would have gone to law school. He would have been a great lawyer. And it's true, he would have been. But, he had many limiting beliefs about himself that caused him to go in the other direction. And so, probably looking back now, I can see that there was some way I was trying to like save my dad or make good on his name or,
Okay.
Heal that.
That's interesting. So you sure did that. And you got this competitive nature at Georgetown. So like, are we talking like Paper Chase? Like, I don't know if you ever saw that movie. It's like one of my favorites. It's this old like movie from the 70s, like these Harvard law students. It's amazing. But were you like tearing pages out of the books in the library and like doing all that sort of stuff?
No, I was just studying more than anybody else, partially it was driven by a couple things. So when I was a criminal justice major in college, okay, and I interned at the Attorney General's office. And one of the women that worked there had graduated first in her law school class from University of Florida. Okay. And she got so much respect for that. People were like, whoa, they would always talk about it. And I remember feeling this feeling at that time of like, I want to do that. I want to graduate first in my class. Yeah. But I didn't really think it was possible. But I wanted it. I could feel like that wanting. And so then when I got to law school, I just studied more than anybody else. What I didn't realize at the time, Benny, was that, Georgetown is a top tier school.
Oh yeah.
But, and everybody, many of the other students were from Harvard and Yale undergrad, and I'm from University of Central Florida undergrad. So I'm already feeling inferior to some degree.
Yep.
But what I didn't realize is that they were the slackers at Harvard and Yale. That's why they ended up at Georgetown, right? Had they been like the star students at Harvard and Yale, they would have been at Harvard and Yale. Right, so, but I was not, I was kind of top student at University of Central Florida.
Yep.
So, but I didn't realize any of that at the time. All I knew is that I needed to study more than everybody else because I was certain I was stupider than everybody else. And I always sat in the front and I always had my hand up. I was a gunner. Yep. And I didn't know at the time how that you weren't like supposed to do that or whatever. They they would have the bingo cards. I don't know if they played gunner bingo at your school, but at mine apparently they did. I didn't even know they were doing that because I was probably like the center of the bingo board.
They were playing bingo. That sounds like vaguely familiar. Gunner bingo.
Yeah.
Say that again. Like what is that?
like some sort of bingo game where like all the people who like raise their hands the most are on a bingo card. And I apparently I didn't, again, I didn't know this because I was the subject of it, but
Right.
Later heard about it,
Yeah, but you know
they
what?
knew.
You were playing defense, because the thing that happens, if you don't raise your hand, you're gonna get called on, and it's gonna be a day where you're just like, I mean, that was like my least favorite part of law school, was like the Socratic method. Like, I hated it.
I
But
loved it.
so but
I was so into it. Like that's how I learn.
okay,
I learn through interaction. I learn by asking questions. I learn by being engaged,
yeah.
and I just loved it. I was just so
So
into it.
so
So
actually, let me ask you like sort of like a psychological question, because you did mention you almost went that way. So like you said, you had this thing, like, you went to UCF, right?
mhm.
And then all these other people were from like Harvard and Yale, but you think like they were sort of like, not the cream of the crop there. So they're at Georgetown Law, but like you thought you were like stupid, quote
Yeah.
unquote, right? So like, how did you get through that in order to sit there in the first row and raise your hand? Because that in and of itself, I think, could be a chapter in one of your books.
Right. Yeah, that'll be in a future book. So you'll all get it now. How I got through it was I felt as if I had something to prove, and I wanted to prove it.
Okay.
I really felt like I needed to prove to myself and to, all the kids that I went to high school with who didn't get me or whatever, all those high school teachers who were like, she's just a slacker, when I knew that like high school didn't mean anything anyway. I needed to prove to them that I wasn't who they thought I was. I needed to prove to myself, really more than anything, that I wasn't who I thought I was. And so every day, when I would get up and it was time to study, I would ask myself, what is the thing that I want to do least? What is the studying that I want to do least? And I would do that first.
Okay.
And that was a huge piece for me, because I realize now that has carried me through a lot, by doing the thing that I want to do least first.
That's a great tip. Have you ever like really shared that like in a public, like on an Instagram post, or just
No.
because I really think that's like, I think that's great. I really think that's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, and I got it out. I got that thing that I wanted to do least out of the way, and then I could reward myself with whatever, I wanted to do most later on. And the other thing about Georgetown is that they didn't rank beyond number 1.
Really?
So you were either number 1 or you might as well have been last.
Wow.
So I wanted to be number 1.
Did everybody pass though, you think? Like, did everybody, I mean, because I think at those well, anyway. So that's in the past. Let's move on to some that's all right. So that's pretty interesting, because I think it really sets the stage for like what you're doing now, like in terms of some of your mind frame, in terms of like shaking it up, like with the legal profession. I mean, obviously you went into big law because you crushed it in law school, right? So like, tell us how long you were in. First of all, did you like recruit? Did you get to go like on like the boat out in like, baseball games and like 10-star dinners? And and then how long were you at a big firm? And then tell us about the transition.
Yeah, so I was a summer associate at Irell and Manila in LA, and then another time at Skadden Arps in DC. And I was pregnant when I was a summer associate at Skadden, and I would take naps under my desk every day because I was so tired. I'd shut my door, take a nap under the desk. Yeah. And I chose Munger Tolles because, frankly, it was the hardest one to get a job at. And so, I was in that competitive mindset, and I wanted to go to the place that was the hardest to get a job at. So I went to Munger Tolles, and it was a big, like, whoa, this is a whole different reality of life. Dinner with Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, and I'm like 28 years old. And I don't know what's going on.
Wow, that's crazy. So when they were like courting you, right? That's sort of like
this. Oh yeah.
And then
that was the whole thing.
So you went into the what you got into like the business practice there, like, and then second year, you said to yourself, like, I kind of want to build my own book. Like you had an hour commute back and forth, and you're like, I want to build my own book. And you actually you disclosed it to the firm, which I thought was pretty nice, you know. And I don't know if you took any of like their clients, but if the clients liked you as much as, you know, they probably
I
would go
did.
with you. So like, what was that experience like when you were like, you know, I want to do more than just help like these big corporations. I want to make an impact and like help people. That was sort of like
Yeah.
your thing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to start by saying that Munger Tolls is a wonderful, wonderful place to work. Like, if I could have, you know, like to choose any of the big firm choices, that was a really great one. The fact that I went to them second year as an associate and said, hey, I want to take my own clients, and they said yes, is truly miraculous. I mean, that's really supportive. You know, I don't think many big law firms would allow that. And they did. They were very supportive of me as a human. And this is even back then, you know, this is 20 years ago now almost. And they were really great. But eventually, after just 3 years, when my son was born, really, you know, in fact, he just turned 18 yesterday.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I was, you know, I was reminiscing about that time because I went into labor. Actually, I'll just tell this really quick story where I woke up in the middle of the night about 2 a.m. The night before he was born. I didn't know that was the night before he would be born, but I woke up at 2 a.m. and I had this intense compulsion to drive to my office and get it packed up. At the time, I didn't know that that was nesting. That's what they call nesting, and women do that before they go into labor.
Yeah.
And so I go in and I pack up my office, and I left there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, and went to sleep that night and woke up in labor. And the really big wake up call that I wouldn't be going back kind of started at that point where I was on the phone with the partner that I worked with, a wonderful man named Stephen Geis. And we were on the phone through my labor. And my midwives were like, Alexis, you have to get off the phone now. Your body needs to relax for you to be able to actually have this baby. And I had a C-section with my daughter. And so I didn't want that to happen again with my son. But it really did hit me at that point, like, I'm going to need to relax in order to be able to now be a mom of two.
You were like talking about a case while you were in labor. Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about all the different, you know, matters that we were handling. And,
wow.
You know, I'm sure I was, you know, trying to get them handed off to him. And yeah, so, and I was the only associate at that time that was a mom, right? Yeah. Today it's different.
Different.
But back then, you know, I was at that point now 29 years old and having my second child, and there wasn't anybody else doing that, you know, at the firm at that time. Certainly not that was an associate. Maybe the partners were having babies, a few of them. But for the most part, it was very, you know, I was in a very unusual situation. And over my maternity leave, I realized I can't go back. I'm going to need to start my own law practice. And I had already wanted to start my own law practice at that point, but I thought I would wait until I was 30 and a little more established. And nope, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go back. And so, yeah, I had to go have that conversation with the partner, Stephen, that I worked with. And it was really scary to go in and say, hey, I'm starting my own law firm.
Wow. So when you say you were taking clients like on your own second year, what is that like? Does that mean on your own firm or just like in your own sort of like under your own, like what is it? What exactly does that mean? Like within the firm that you're at, right?
Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, in under the Munger, Tolls and Olson banner, you know, I started going out into my community and meeting people, and and I was doing some nonprofit work, exempt org work at that time. So I started going to all of the exempt org bar meetings and getting really involved. And I started meeting people in my community, talking to them about estate planning, because we were doing estate planning at that time. And then people wanted to work with me. And so I would run them through the conflicts check at the firm, because of course that was, I couldn't take on anybody that would cause a conflicts problem for their big clients. And and again, they were really, really accepting. And so I just began serving these clients on my own, with Stephen's oversight and with the oversight of the corporate tax department. And I started also serving the partners at the firm, because I was doing estate planning. And so it was only me and Stephen, the other partner, that were doing estate planning. And so I got to work with some of the other, some of the other lawyers at the firm at Munger Tolles doing their estate planning. And this is when I began to realize that there was a problem with the estate planning industry in general. I saw that we were doing the exact same kind of estate planning that had resulted in my father-in-law ending up with an estate plan that didn't work.
Right.
And we were doing it exactly the same way. And that was a big eye-opener to me.
Yeah. So then I wanted just to go back again. Like you said, you were in the community and you heard somebody this woman talk about having her own business and welcoming her son home from school. And you were like, I want to do that. Like I can do that. Right. So, I think it became part of your mantra. Like, if she can do it, I can do it. Right.
Yes, exactly. Right? Yeah. So, I give that to all of you. If she can do it, I can do it.
Right. And I think that goes for definitely a lot of people that can be applied. So tell us about, so that you have like 3 sort of businesses, right? I'm trying to figure out how they intertwine, I guess, like the Family Wealth Planning Institute and Eyes Wide Open Life.
Yes.
So do you want to just tell us about those?
Yeah. So when it all started, when I left the big law firm and started my own firm in Redondo Beach, California, while it was actually first in Torrance. And the way I started, because, even though I was at the big law firm, I'm making this, big 6-figure paycheck. We didn't have any savings. My husband was a stay-at-home dad. We had 2 little kids. We had bought a house in Redondo Beach, which, back then it was only $350,000. But back then that was a lot of money. I had a big mortgage. And we were spending everything that we were bringing in. Yeah. And so when I first started, I had to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to be able to have an office? I can't afford rent, or at least that's what I thought. So I traded my time. I traded 20 hours a month with an attorney in town who had been doing estate planning for many years. And I did his, extra work in exchange for renting some office space from him. And, I got my business cards, Alexis Martin Neely, attorney and counselor at law, and it was all very exciting. And within about a year of that, I saw that I was going to really want to build a real business. I saw that the attorneys that were in that office, and this was like a top tier firm in Torrance, California, right? So a suburban community, a top tier firm. But these attorneys were working all hours of the day and night. And they were working all hours of the day and night because they had to, not because, law firm management was making them. They were law firm management. And I saw they didn't have any systems, and I saw that I really wanted to create something different. I was a mom and I wanted to be able to have a life and a law practice. And I had this dream of having this office that would be totally different than any other kind of lawyer office. When the clients would come to our office in Torrance, they'd have to go into the parking garage and then come up 12 stories and come into this, black leather chairs and glass walls. And it was all very intimidating to people. And I wanted to create something that was like home. That when people walked in, they would feel that they were at home, or what later became like a spa experience. And, that they would feel good. And so I talked to Rod, the attorney that I worked with, about it. And he said, oh, you can't do that. That's never going to work. And I said, okay, thank you. I think it is. I think it's going to work. And so there was this iconic building in our town that was like an old restored home that used to be a chiropractor's office. And every day I would drive by there and think, I want my office to be there. I wonder what has to happen for my office to be there. And one day, my kid's dad, my husband at the time, was driving by and he saw something was going on there at that building. And he said, Lex, something's going on at that building you love. You should find out what it is. And it turns out it had been purchased by a financial advisor. And I called this financial advisor up and I said, hey, Scott, I'd love to rent space from you in this, because there was these 2 cottages in the back and they were so cute.
Yep.
And he said, oh, sorry, I'm not going to be renting space.
Okay.
And I said, okay, well, I think I'm supposed to be practicing there. So if you change your mind, give me a call. And he did. He a few months later, he did. He gave me a call. He said, okay, we're done with the renovations. It turns out we do want to rent these back cottages. So if you're willing to come in and renovate and turn it into offices, we'd love to have you. And again, at this time, I had no money.
Right.
And I had certainly, I didn't know anything about business or raising capital or anything like that. I didn't care. I just said, okay, I'm in. I'll figure it out. And I did. Within a few months, I had completely converted this, what was just a garage, no walls, no floors, no ceilings, nothing, into the most beautiful, warm, inviting office space that when people walked in, they would say, oh, where's my massage? I feel like I'm at the spa. Yeah. And my name got to be on the side of the, at the corner of this like busiest intersection in town. Right, yeah. And instead of being Alexis Martin Neely, attorney and counselor at law, I put a stake in the ground to say, no, I'm building a business. And so I made it Martin Neely and Associates. Okay. Because I knew that I was going to have other lawyers working with me. And so I wanted it to be something where if they were handing out their business card, they would be proud to be part of this firm. And so I did it. I built Martin Neely and Associates into $1 million a year revenue generating firm. Within 3 years, by 2006, that was the first year that I hit $1 million of revenue. And, I did it by doing things completely and totally differently than the way any other lawyers at that time were doing things. Today, some of the things that we do are a lot more common.
Right.
Some of it because of how many lawyers I've taught across the country now. But back then, serving families with young children didn't even exist as a practice area. Every lawyer, every kind of law, business law coach that I spoke to said, oh, no, you can't do that. You're going to starve. You're going to go broke. Families with young children don't want to pay for estate planning. They don't want to talk about death. They're too far away from it. You need to serve seniors. And I said, I don't know. I don't think so. I think you might not be right. And
you just can't listen
and I
sometimes.
Did it.
You just can't listen to the negativity. Like if you really believe it's going to happen, like you can't listen to it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big leap for sure because I didn't have any, as I said, I didn't have any business experience. I never thought that I was going to be a business owner myself. Yeah. So I began to study successful entrepreneurs and service-based professionals outside of the law. I had to leave the law to learn business at that time. Okay. Today there's, business coaches for lawyers everywhere. But back then it was like me and Ben Glass. I don't know if you know who Ben Glass is. He's a great old school personal injury lawyer who teaches marketing to lawyers. But back then it was just us. And so I didn't learn how to do business from other lawyers. I learned from dentists and chiropractors, optometrists, even a magician. And I did it. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not entirely true. I had one incredible business mentor named Scott Farnsworth, who I came across at literally just the right time when I had first opened the doors to my practice. And he took me through a strategic vision planning process.
Okay.
That changed my changed everything for me, really. It's a process that I teach now through Eyes Wide Open.
Wow.
And you had asked about, you have all these different businesses today. Well, yeah, I actually have too many businesses today, Benny.
Okay. That's why I was a little like, okay, let's see here.
Because I'm such an entrepreneur, and I get so many ideas. And so what has happened over the years is that I actually went through, as I said, this spiritual crisis / awakening where I didn't think I wanted to be a lawyer anymore.
Right.
I had achieved all of the success that I could as a lawyer. I had built the $1 million practice. I had written the best-selling book. I had gotten on TV as the family financial and legal expert. I had done it all, and I wasn't happy. And so I started Eyes Wide Open as a business that teaches business owners how to live their lives and do business with their eyes wide open. I thought that at that time, because I didn't think I wanted to be a lawyer anymore, and I didn't think that I wanted to train lawyers anymore. This is even after I had started training lawyers. I decided that I wanted to work with, purpose-driven entrepreneurs. And so I created Eyes Wide Open to teach the purpose-driven entrepreneurs about legal, insurance, financial, and tax systems, and how to do business really through this new lens. And I created Family Wealth Planning Institute as really the owner of all of my intellectual property. So Family Wealth Planning Institute owns all of the intellectual property that I created to serve families in a new way. The Kids Protection Plan and the Family Wealth Planning Session process, the Lifetime Asset Protection Trust process. And so fast forward now, and we are, 20 years later, we're in 2021 now. And I have actually come to the conclusion that there is nothing better in the world that I can do than to serve the lawyer community, than to really, I have found the joy of being a lawyer. It took me a long time to get here, but I can truly say today that I believe that as lawyers, we are so blessed to have made the decision to go to law school, that we have something that is so important to our society and to our communities today, a law degree. And after years of coaching, non-lawyer entrepreneurs, what I got to recognize, and the reason that I came back to serving lawyers with the new law business model, and really have devoted all of my energy to that, is that as lawyers, we don't have to try and figure out what our purpose is. I believe that most of us went to law school because we wanted to make a difference.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people, from what I've found through lawyer stories too, like a lot of people go for those reasons to make a difference.
And we come out of law school and nobody gives us a business model to actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I was going to say, like, you were talking about how you didn't know much about business, and then, it's just too bad we don't really get that background, how to be A, practitioners, unless you're going through all those clinics, and B, how to run a business.
Well, even if apparently now they have business of law clinics. In fact, I was just talking to one of my members about that earlier. And she took a business of law clinic because she wanted to hang her own shingle, but it didn't actually teach her what she needed in order to be able to be successful in business for herself. And I get it, because it cost me over $1 million of mistakes. I mean, literally over $1 million out of my pocket that I don't have today because of the mistakes that I made when it came to the business side. And in fact, I think when I look back now about why I walked away from being a lawyer for a time, I think it was because I thought that I wasn't good at business. I thought that I couldn't both be a lawyer and be all of who I am and help people and make a great living and have a great life.
Right.
And I had to, go through this journey of really coaching other entrepreneurs, non-lawyer entrepreneurs, to realize how good we have it. We have it so good because we've got something that is actually really rare and incredibly valuable when we know how to use it. Other entrepreneurs who don't have law degrees, they've got to create a service from scratch. Right. They have to create, an entire service delivery model. They have to create an entire pricing and packaging model. They have to create an entire way of getting hired. They have to create an entire way of creating demand for their services. But as lawyers, we already have all of that. Just nobody taught us how to put it together. And I realized, oh, I know how to put it together. That was the thing that built my law practice into $1 million a year practice. And once I started to meet the lawyers who truly have heart and soul, and Benny, it took me a long time to meet those lawyers, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Because I think it's something that is somewhat kind of new, that, lawyers are accepting that they're not just, their minds. We've got hearts too.
Yeah, right.
And now that I see, as lawyers, we get to bring our hearts and minds together. We get to reclaim. We are counselors. No, I didn't go to school to become a therapist, but I get to use my law degree in a way that gets into the deepest, most intimate matters of my clients' lives. And oftentimes I'm helping my clients far more than any therapist, than any business coach. Mm-hmm. And I get to use my law degree to do it. And so now I love being a lawyer.
Wow. It's great. I mean, it's crazy to think how long it has to take, though, like after you go through this like rigorous, expensive process, like how long it has to take to actually find something that suits you. Not you per se, but like us as a team. Like it's crazy.
Well, as humans. But it doesn't have to take that long anymore, right? So I think that part of why it had to take that long for me is because I really was inventing something new. Yeah, so there wasn't really a path for me to follow. But today, that's not the case, right? Like, again, today is 2021. We're in a totally different reality, not just because of COVID, but because there has been a consciousness shift on the planet. I think that we can all feel it. We're all aware of it. Yeah. It used to be back in the day that, lawyers had the worst reputation, and people thought lawyers were like, just out to take their money. And I think that is the case still for some lawyers, but I think that what's happened now as well is that there has been this experience where more people who are truly heart-centered are coming out of the legal profession in a way that they're saying, we don't want to do it that old way anymore. We don't want to bill by the minute. We don't only want to serve the big corporations and, help them get richer. We want to, empower people to utilize the system for their benefit. And we want to be advocates and activists and counselors. And so we've got more of this demand from the humanity of lawyering. And I think we also have this reality where the clients, the end users of the legal services, they want their lawyers to bring their humanity forward. And so lawyers no longer feel like they have to be one person in their personal life and then, put on the suit and tie and like show up,
right,
in a certain way. In fact, what lawyers are starting to see is that the more human you are, the more people want to work with you.
Right. Yeah.
And we've got this saying actually in one of our programs. We teach the art of connection and communication in our course, and we've got this saying that says, when people say to you, you don't seem like a lawyer, how can I work with you? You're on the right path.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be generational too. Like a lot of these upcoming attorneys, like that I see on Lawyer Stories. Yeah. With social media and sort of like expressing themselves in different ways than a traditional way. So I definitely agree with that. So like, what about when did your book come out? You wrote The New Law Business Model. really
Yes.
interesting stuff. I know you talk about this guy Richard, and like how he like, he's all excited that he's going to be serving interrogatories to somebody on Christmas, and you realize like that's not why I went to law school type of thing. Maybe that's
Yeah.
completely out of context, but I just something that stood out to me when I was reading a little bit.
No, that was such a really great experience for me actually, right? Because as I said, there was a large period of time where I wasn't sure why I became a lawyer, why I was serving and training lawyers, like why am I doing this? And he was at an in-person event that we were holding, and we asked everybody, why did you join us? Why are you here? And he told this story of being about to, serving interrogatories on opposing counsel, calculating when it would be due. It's going to be due at Christmas, and you know, he's making a fist bump because an air fist bump because he's going to ruin opposing counsel's Christmas, and he realizes halfway through that he became a human who is celebrating ruining somebody else's Christmas. And I think that this is so much of the problem.
Yeah.
With the former way of lawyering, we used to fist bump that we're going to ruin somebody else's life in some way. And we've realized, just like Richard did, we don't want to be that. That is not who we are. And we are committed now to finding a different way. And so Richard came to us and we helped him find that different way. And now he serves families in his community in a truly meaningful way. But most importantly, he likes who he is. And I guess you get to see it, Benny. You're doing, I imagine, lawyer stories of all lawyers who like themselves and like what they're doing. But
yeah,
that's not the norm, or it hasn't been the norm.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it hasn't been the norm. And you're right. Like a lot of people do like what they're doing. That I find with lawyer stories, they have a way of wanting to express like why they went to law school, any challenges, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess, it's been an interesting project. And it's really, it's been going on for like over 3 years now. So it's very interesting.
And what had you want to do it, Benny? Why did you start Lawyer Stories?
Just because I felt I had a little bit of a story myself. And I felt that if I had a story, like there are people who have like 10 times crazier stories, and like I would just love to hear them talk about it in like a narrative form, similar to like Humans in New York. I don't know if you've ever seen that or you're familiar with that, but I kind of wanted to see like lawyers talk like that, and I knew that everybody had like a story. It would be like unlike any other profession, and so I sort of hit on something a little bit, and it's growing like really like day by day. I love it. It's like such a passion. Like meeting people from everywhere has just been like incredible. So we have we'll see. I have some ideas for the future, but
and can we hear your lawyer story, the first episode, the very first episode?
So if you could hear why I started Lawyer Stories on the first podcast episode that doesn't have any video yet. I had my sister on. I had her like ask me some questions and stuff, and it was actually really good. It's like a description of why I did it, and then I posted my lawyer story like I think it was either 50 or 100 in to the feed, so it was years ago. I've done it once or twice more. I haven't done it in a while, but yeah, it's maybe not as compelling as some other people, but it's still I think we all have a story, a reason for wanting to come in and to the profession.
And it's one of the first things that we help the lawyers who come through our training programs at New Law Business Model to do is to claim their story.
Yeah.
And, why are you the kind of lawyer that you are? Why do you do things differently than the rest of the lawyers in your community? Because there's 1.3 million lawyers, and while you have a really rare thing to offer when you're offering your legal services, when you claim your story and really who you are and why you do what you do and why you do it differently, that's the key to me, is that you do it differently. And you're able to communicate that to the people that you are either meeting in a presentation or through social media networking or in your first meeting. It really does solidify why people are going to want to know, like, and trust you and hire you and work with you. And so that
Yeah,
story is
that's
so
true.
important.
I think that's totally true.
Yeah.
So like what's next with the new law business model? Like what do you foresee in the future?
Well, we are transforming the legal industry. That was always the vision way back when. I lost sight of it a bit along the way where I wasn't sure I could actually do it. But today I feel more sure than ever
Okay.
that it is possible. And so, personal family lawyer is what we are making the lawyers into. So when lawyers learn the new law business model, they become eventually, many of them become what we call personal family lawyers. And personal family lawyers are trusted advisors to the people that they work with. And so, most people, they want a consigliere. They want a trusted confidant. They want somebody that they can go to when they have a problem or an issue. They don't know who else to talk to. Well, your lawyer is the best person for you to talk to because it's confidential, number one. Your lawyer is probably really smart and has some really good solutions and answers. And so a few years back, I decided that new law business model would only serve lawyers that wanted to serve families and or business owners with estate planning and or business planning. But just recently, now that we've grown significantly and I have a whole leadership and executive team that I work with, they have started to show me that it's not just for estate and business planning lawyers into the future, that really any lawyer that is serving people personally, whether through immigration or bankruptcy, divorce, any sort of a personal type of practice can be a personal family lawyer. And so right now we still do only serve family lawyers who want to serve families and or business owners as we teach with this trusted advisor relationship that's not just a one-off set of documents, but is really a service that turns them into that trusted advisor for the people in their community, the go-to lawyer for families and small business owners. But I have been persuaded that other practice areas need and deserve this as well.
Okay.
So I won't say we'll be expanding this year by any means. This is a long-term vision, but the plan was always a personal family lawyer in every neighborhood.
Wow. So is this just in your state right now? Like what state? Okay, this is everywhere.
No, we are everywhere throughout the U.S. We have
Okay.
270 member lawyers who are
Okay.
licensed as personal family lawyers, and you can go to the personalfamilylawyer.com website and see what that's like. That whole site is getting a big overhaul. That's our big focus for this year is that
Okay.
personal family lawyer really gets the attention. We've given new law business model the attention for the past 3 years. We've really, focused very much on new law business model. We've made the Inc. 5000 list 3 years now in a row. I've been able to really turn that into a company. I was
Mhm.
kind of stuck, I was stuck at like being a business that was totally dependent on me and
Yeah.
all about me for many years. And then 3 years ago, I had a breakthrough and was able to turn that into a real company. And so new law business model is doing great as a company,
That's awesome.
and that's giving us the resources to now invest in making personal family lawyer really mean something, so that when families or business owners are thinking, oh, okay, I'm ready to get my affairs in order, I'm ready to start to have a trusted advisor on my side, they will just automatically think of hiring a personal family lawyer and working with a personal family lawyer.
Wow. It's amazing. So you've been doing a lot of work, a lot of hard
Yeah.
work. That's good. So like now that you've written the book, which
Hmm.
I think everybody should definitely check out,
Yeah.
like what's next for you
Hmm.
personally?
Yeah, so first of all, we're going to update my first book. So my first book, Wear Clean Underwear, was written in 2008, and it's called Wear Clean Underwear because your mom always told you to wear clean underwear in case you're in an accident,
Yeah.
but wearing clean underwear is no longer enough once you're a parent. There's important legal steps to take as well. And so this is a book about legal planning for families. We'll be updating that book.
Okay.
And then I am also writing a couple of other books. One is called Eyes Wide Open: Discovering My Truth in a World Full of Lies.
Wow.
And then I have another book in the works called Enough: The Money Wake Up Call to Reclaim Your Time, Energy, and Attention in Service to a Life Worth Living. And that teaches my philosophy of enough. I think that most of us are living in a distorted reality around money. And I discovered this, I call it a disease. It's called money dysmorphia. And it's a distorted view we have around money, especially lawyers and other professionals who think, I don't have enough money. I can't
Right.
fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Well, that is a distortion. Yes, you do have enough money. Money is infinite when you know how to earn it,
Know how to
access
make
it,
it,
use
right.
it wisely.
Yeah.
Time, energy, and attention are not infinite. Time, energy, and attention are non-renewable resources. And so when we write our relationship with money, we can reclaim our time, energy, and attention and step into our full purpose and create and live a life worth living. And as lawyers, it's so important that we do that so that we can be role models and leaders in our communities and stop operating through this lens of money, but still make plenty of money. I mean, money is, incredibly important. It's just got to be in right relationship. And as a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant, or anybody who's a professional, you can always make more money.
Yeah. Yep.
You
Well,
can't make more time, energy, and attention.
I look forward to getting a signed copy from you. So
I would love to send you a signed copy, Benny.
Sweet.
Yeah, send me your address so I can send you. I'll send you both the new law business model book
Yeah.
and the Wear Clean Underwear books signed by me.
For sure. I look forward to it. So, is there anything else that you wanted that we did not touch upon, or like how can people get a hold of you before we?
Yeah,
So-
the best place to reach me or to reach my company is at newlawbusinessmodel.com. If you are a lawyer and you want to practice in a way that is truly meaningful and have a great life, make a great living, and truly love what you do, serving families and or business owners, please do come to newlawbusinessmodel.com. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We literally have all the systems, soup to nuts, A to Z, everything you need to build a practice that you absolutely love, so you can then use your law degree in lots of different ways that is very fulfilling to you. But at the heart of it, have built a business beneath your law degree and make your law degree your most valuable asset. We also do have a free Facebook group. It's called Lifestyle Lawyers Club. It's on Facebook. I'm there all the time, and so you can, come there, say hi, let me know that you came from Lawyer Stories, tag me. I'm at Ali Katz, and happy to engage with you there. And I'm also on Clubhouse. I have
Really?
a Lawyers We Love Club on Clubhouse. Instagram, of course, at the Ali Katz on Instagram.
What was that Facebook Lifestyle Lawyer Club?
Lifestyle Lawyers Club on
Right.
Facebook.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you're really connected then. So
Yeah, Benny. I love social media. I'll tell you, it kind of goes back to my clerkship. I clerked on the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. I was pregnant, and this is back in the day before there was really social media. But I was part of a Yahoo group for moms that were
Okay.
due at the same time that I was. So there was moms. We called it Moms Like Me Yahoo group. November '99 was when all of our babies were due. And I remember sitting there. I worked for a senior judge, so it was kind of part-time-ish. We
Yep.
didn't have like a full schedule. And I remember I would spend a lot of time surfing the internet and talking to moms who were pregnant. And I remember saying to myself back then, "Gosh, I wish that one day I could just have a job where I spend all day on the internet talking to people.
Yeah, that's and boom, Facebook, boom, Instagram.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
20 years later, 21 years later, here I am with a job where I get to spend a lot of time talking to people on the internet, and I love it. I
that's
really
awesome.
love it. TikTok is next. I'm coming for you
Yeah.
next, TikTok.
Hey, I do have a TikTok account. I have like 4 posts on there. It's pretty
Me
weak,
too.
but I do like scrolling it. That is on now. I have that on recorded Zoom
Yeah.
podcast. It is a cool platform, so I look forward to
Yeah.
seeing you on that too.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I want to say about it is that, in order to allow me to do what I really like to do, which in my case is spending a lot of time on social media, spending time with my kids, spending time with, my community here in Boulder, I had to build a business.
Yeah.
And I resisted that for a long time. Even after I had built my law practice into $1 million practice, I still resisted being a business owner. I still resisted that I had to learn how to have a business. I didn't even back then, I didn't really get that. And then when I built my second company into $1 million business, Family Wealth Planning Institute back then, I still didn't understand that I needed to have a business. And ultimately, it is my business. It is the fact that I have a business with systems and scalable processes and a team that I work with. Not that they work for me. We work all together. I happen to be in my role. They happen to be in their roles.
Okay.
It takes that in order to be able to do whatever it is that you love. And as a lawyer, you can choose. You can be the one who sees clients all the time. You can be the one who's on social media all the time. You can be the one that never does any of that stays behind the scenes completely and has somebody else do the social media and has somebody
Right.
else see the clients. That's the beauty of business, is that you get to choose. And when you are using your law degree well, and you're building a service around your law degree, you get to choose which of the roles you get to be in, supporting your business with your law degree and having your law degree support your community because you've built a business with your
Yeah.
law degree.
Wow.
So that's the key to me.
Interesting stuff. Ali Katz, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
Uh,
Ben.
for everybody else out there in the Lawyer Stories community, don't go anywhere, Ali, but everybody else, wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.